What's up, guys? It's Connor Fergus from Door to Door to the Top Floor, and definitely this week is an episode I've been really excited about. Interviewing my my buddy EJ here, man. What's up, man? Welcome to the show.
How you doing, brother, man? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, hell yeah,
you, man.
Hell yeah. So, when I was writing this, it was pretty funny because I was trying to think about our relationship when it first started, and you know, because I guess just to give a little background to the listeners, it's like we have a pretty interesting relationship. We worked on the Lifeline program, right? And for what people that don't know what that is, it's pretty much we're giving free phones to people that need help, right? But the funny thing about this program, man, for people that don't know, is you know, you set up, it's all these independent contractors, right? And people set up literally your booth, my booth, and the booth next to me. And it was a commission-based sales industry, so we're fighting for every single dollar, every single sale. And you know, so I hear this, you know, I'm building a team and my guys are going out there doing their thing, and all of a sudden I noticed that at certain locations my guys' sales were fucking dropping like flies. I would go be doing 15, we'd have a 13 average across the board, and then this one prime location would have 3 or 4 sales for whatever reason. And you know, I was managing the division at the time, so the reps came back and I was like, guys, like, what's happening there? I did 15 phones there yesterday, and these reps are complaining about this guy named EJ. It's like, man, like EJ set up next to me, so it's all bad. And I guess that didn't really make sense. I was like, okay, let me go see what the fuck this is all about. So I go over there, I check this guy out, and I saw for myself. I mean, we were competing. You know, I think our relationship initially wasn't the friendliest. It wasn't really unfriendly, right? But it was, but there was definitely some similarities that I saw in myself with you, you know, because I guess one thing that made me feel comfortable was always like I really was a good job. I had a good job upbringing of being exposed to all these different cultures, all these different people, different backgrounds, and I guess they made me kind of a chameleon. And I felt when I started in the program, I was kind of known for that. And then I met you, and I was like, man, this is like the guy. This is the chameleon that goes in any environment. Is kind of like that. And you were like that, and you were super competitive, and I like the mentality. So, I mean, we kind of started to create, I guess, a relationship a little bit over that. Right. But like you learn, you know, even competing against you, I learned a lot from you. You know, in terms of like how to work the certain environments and like where to place your reps and how to manage territory and like not selling individually one-on-one, because I came from door to door before that, where it was only one-on-one, and now it was, you know, selling to the masses. You have 5, 6, 7, 15 people in a group. I needed to influence the whole group to join you. It was kind of a trip.
In the hood.
In the hood, yeah, in crazy environments. Yeah. But like, I guess what are some things, you know, I got a lot before I even met you and really got to know you as a person. What were some initial impressions you got of me?
That's a good question, man. The first time I met you, I knew that you were just like me. So it's either we're gonna love each other, or we're not gonna like each other.
Right.
And as I worked next to you, as I learned from you, you know, our relationship just became, you know, not enemies, but hey, if we're gonna duke it out, let's duke it out and do it competitively. And I think our upbringing, as far as like, you know, playing sports, you know, growing up, I think that's what kind of got into the whole, you know, of us competing together. Yeah, because like I'm not a poor sport. I don't feel like you're a poor sport, and I think the best of both worlds, you know, clashed. And yeah, I mean, my team said the same thing. You know, if my numbers are low, I know that Connor's at that location. You know, and you know, when I first met you, like I said I don't feel any bad energy from this guy. You know, he's not threatening anybody. He's not, you know, and at the time I didn't know that you were, you know, you do boxing and you probably just hit me with a 1-2. But you know, I always talk my smack. I always did what I had to do. But yeah, like my first impression was like, you know, this guy's a good guy. He's goal driven, and he's not gonna back down. And I loved it. And you know, I've learned a lot from you out in the field, even though you're not in the field anymore.
Right.
I've learned a lot from you, how to be patient, how to talk to your people, And yeah, so I, first impression is everything, and you nailed it. And I think you nail it with everybody as far as first impression goes. Everybody that I know likes you.
It's good.
So yeah, first impression was good, man. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, like, just to, I guess, to think how things kind of transpired. It's like you were the enemy, and now it's like we're boys and sitting in the house with your family. I went to your baby shower with your your girl and the newborn baby and stuff. But yeah, and then when quarantine happened, we got to know each other a little bit more, and then we started boxing, kind of like you touched on. What has that experience been like, boxing with me and like doing that kind of workout?
The first time I boxed with you, man, really is because I was trying to get healthy and just trying to just be healthy, man, because life is short. So I said, you know what? Not only do I want to learn how to throw a couple punches here and there, but I want to be healthy. And you didn't hesitate to say, hey, look, just come by. And when I first started boxing with you, I realized how much of a clumsy person I was. No matter how many fights I had been in, I just realized how clumsy I was. And, I was such a beginner, but you took me step by step, and you were like, hey, it's okay. We don't have to rush into ding, ding, ding. No, let's start with the basics. And I feel that's working out and just boxing, it has really like relieved a lot of stress in my life. Yeah. And once again, I didn't know that you knew how to box how you did, so thank God I never tried to pick a fight with you.
Yeah. Well, you grew up playing sports. Like, we played ball a little bit together.
Right.
And,
yeah.
You had to show me what was up there, but
I think
like
you beat me though.
I did beat you. I did beat you one time. But like, how do you compare, I guess, kind of like boxing in terms of the physical, mental state to like, other sports that you played in your background?
I can't compare. There's probably a comparison, but sure. I can't compare because I could play 5 games of basketball at the gym or outside, and I feel good, and I got some buckets, and yeah. But boxing is not only tiring physically, but it's more mentally, because you're like right here the whole time. You're like locked in for however long we're boxing for. Stamina wise, I've never worked out that hard playing any sport. Maybe Hell Week in high school, but there's no comparison for me. I just you're competitive, but no matter how competitive you are, you can still get knocked out if you don't know what you're doing. So for me, there's a huge difference between boxing and any other sport. You can be really agile and athletic and still not know how to box or know the fundamentals, or it might be a little confusing to you, but I'm starting to learn here, little by little.
Pieces at a time, right?
Pieces at a time, yep.
Well, now let's get into, I guess, the reason why we're doing this interview. So tell us a little about you, what you do, your background.
Okay, yep. So my name is EJ Sochia. That's my music name. That's what I go by as far as everything. I used to be EJ the Project. That's an old name of mine.
EJ the Project.
EJ the Project. Because I was like a work in process, man, when I first started. I come from Torrance, California. Not a little city, but it's a good sized city in Southern California. My family's all from the East Coast. I started making music when I was about 14. I was recording on like Sony Acid program with like a Nickelodeon microphone. Okay. Recording my friends with the Nickelodeon microphone, thinking that we were doing stuff. Yeah. And at that point, I knew that music was something that I wanted to keep my hands on forever.
So music started for you at 14.
About 14, yeah, right in high school. I was like, you know what? Everybody's trying to do music right now. I can write a little bit, but let me teach myself how to record, and that's where I really learned a lot from other people, and just kind of just saw what they did and figured it out, pretty much. Yeah.
So what was like I guess that driving force like behind music? Like, what was it that wanted you? Like, why did you start making music? What was the reason?
So when I first started making music, I was that's a good question. Actually, people don't know this. When I first started making music, I started rapping in the church. It's where I learned how to play the drums. It's just where I learned all like my musical talents, I guess you could say. I was always a good writer, but you know, at the age of 14, I kind of like gave my life to God. My mom wanted to go to church, and I was like, and that's why in a lot of songs you hear me say a lot of things about praying or, you know, whatever it is, because I still have a connection with God. But that's where I started all of my musical, you know, just that's where I started everything really.
Yeah.
And you know, God has blessed me with a talent that, you know, I can't say that I did that on my own because I know where it came from, and that's not something I can front off. So I'm going to be 100% correct, like 100 is yeah. So I started really writing like poetry and you know, just how I felt. And at the time, it was all good. It was all positive stuff. And as life went on, you know, into my 17, 18-year-old years, you know, I went through like rough patches and stuff. And I turned that positive, you know, music that I was putting out, you know, talking about God and, you know, what the change. And I went through like a whole, you know, like rolling down the hill, and then I popped up and I'm like a whole different person. And, you know, I always say like, I'm like Darth Vader. Like that's how I like to see myself. You know, I'm really good on the inside, but you know, I joined the dark side type.
You have
thing.
tendencies, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think all of us, you know, like I definitely have had my hiccups in life, and I've luckily had people help kind of navigate falling too deep. What's funny is I kind of had an intuition about your background. Look at the question I have for you.
Which one?
You're a soulful person.
Okay,
I said you're a soulful person. Where does that come from? That background in the church background. But it's funny that I kind of had an intuition. Yeah.
That's cool though.
Yeah. Well,
you did your homework.
I did my homework, and it's funny because I had a buddy over from the Air Force. He visited me yesterday, and I was, you know, because he does music, and he was like, man, because I was telling him about you. I was like, he was like, dude, like I want to meet this guy. He just came out here from Tennessee.
Oh, that's
and
dope.
He does music out there, and I was like, man, like you're an artist. Help me come up with some questions. I'm interviewing my buddy today, and as we were listening to your music, he was like, man, like he sounds like he comes from this, and this. So it's funny that
you got it.
He connected the dots there.
Yeah.
He connected the
Tennessee.
dots.
I haven't even heard. Tennessee. Are there any like good artists in Tennessee? I mean, I'm sure there are, but maybe that's a whole different question.
It's small, yeah. I mean, so we were stationed in Valdosta together in Georgia.
Okay.
And then
shout out to the Air Force.
Shout out to the Air Force. Yeah, so we were in the Air Force together. He got out and just kind of been living all over the South, and now it's his first time in the Bay ever. First time in California ever last night. But so you touched a little bit about where you're from. So tell me a little bit about, I guess you said you're from Torrance, right?
Mm-hmm.
Torrance, California.
Yep.
But tell me a little bit about growing up in that environment. Like what you know, I personally, I've never been there. What is it like over there?
So Torrance, California, I grew up on the borderline of Torrance, California and Gardena, California. Shout out to everybody in Gardena. And really just the South Bay. It wasn't even like Torrance, because Torrance was, it's a big little city. It's almost like Hayward, like where we're at right now. You know, I grew up with my mom working 3 jobs, you know, coming in late. Pretty much I just had to take care of me and my sisters, you know, and my mom just worked however many jobs she had to work to make sure that we had, you know, an apartment and a bed to sleep in. For the longest time in my life, I never had a house to live in. But at the same time, my mom always provided. So I was never without. So it was never like, oh my God, I never had anything, and I came from from nothing. No, I came from something. You know, and a lot of people think like, oh, you know, in your lyrics or whatever, it sounds like you had it so bad. Like, when I hit like 18, 19 is when everything just went to crap, you know. But for the most part, just growing up, man, I had really good friends that we had a really good bond. Everybody, I grew up in a little apartment called Villa Monte Apartments. You know, I had best friends like Michi Wade, Avery Rucker, Robert Perez, Justin Ruiz, and just we grew up and we were a big family, man. And we all of our moms were single moms, so you know, those were all my boys, and those were all the ones I started making music with and just playing, like, you know, just playing guns and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But you know, Torrance, California is not a bad area. it's just that if you're not on your if you're not on your
life
T's and stuff, like
right.
it can go bad. So yeah.
Well, this isn't really something I have prepared, but you brought something up that I guess speaks to me, is because I'm a single mother. My father passed when I was 14, and that changed my life in terms of how I look at life and like things I want for myself. And I think a lot of like my ambition and my drive today comes from like that responsibility that I feel like. Is that something similar to you? Like what's I guess growing up without a father like done with you?
So I met my dad when I was, I want to say maybe 10, 11. I don't remember the exact age. It could have been longer than that. But just growing up with a mom, and just only a mom, and I had a stepdad, but just like a lot of kids or whoever, you get kind of protective of your mom having a stepdad.
Absolutely,
so
yeah.
Even though that he was there, I still was. That's when like all my resentment came. That's when I started to, build up that hate and the anger that I never had as a child. And without my dad being there, to me it was fine because my mom took care of everything.
Right.
Like it was never like, oh, we don't have this.
Yeah.
Like no, my mom worked 3 jobs and she made it happen. Whether she had to work a 4th one or whatever she had to do, she made it happen. Yeah. And so just growing up with a single mom showed me that now even in life now with the age I'm at, like there's no excuse why you can't make something work. Like if my mom had 3 kids and she worked 4 jobs and she still provided, there's no excuse for myself or anybody else not to do what they need to do. And she's the one who really made me independent and really made me strong as a person.
Yeah, you think a lot of like your family values and your grit, I guess, is that would be kind of the way that I describe that, is just grit. Like no matter what the fuck happens, you're gonna make it happen, kind of thing. So how do you think, I guess, growing up in that environment and in your upbringing, how has that influenced like your music? You talked a little about how people have talked to you about your lyrics and stuff. Like how has your upbringing influenced your music and your style?
Sometimes I like to just brush all that under the rug,
right? So
you don't hear a lot of that inside with my lyrics. My lyrics really come from like 18 and on, type of thing. Because if I talked about all that stuff in my lyrics, I don't know. Maybe I should, but it gets cloudy. It gets a little. If people hear it, they might feel a certain way. Not to say that I hold back, but sometimes I like to just hold my tongue. For the better of every situation.
Right.
But yeah, like my upbringing. It falls into my music just with just when I was making that transition of like having to see my mom with my stepdad, or me having to stay at home with my sisters because I couldn't go out because she was working, and all that stuff made me who I am today, and it made me real independent. So I used to just sit in my room all day and just write music, and like, you don't want to go outside? No, I don't. Like, I'm just independent. I just want to do my own thing, and I think that's what made me independent. It's just me being alone all the time, and in my lyrics you might hear me say things like I felt lonely or I feel lonely, because that's something that I kind of just felt my whole life. I didn't always have crews to hang out with. I was never in gangs and shit, so I was just always on my lonely, and that's just what it is. That's just why I am who I am today. Yep.
Well, and I pay attention to this stuff just because, I don't know, I pay attention to mine too. Like, so I texted you, I was looking at the text this morning, maybe like 2 months ago. I was talking about your Spotify. I said, man, like, you were at, I think it was like 780 people were subscribed to you. Now I looked this morning and it's 7,700. Like, how does that, first of all, like, how does that feel to have that kind of like that positive jump, and it seems like, things are catching? Like, what does that feel like?
I said
Probably feels a little bit like that too, right?
Yeah, it's like I didn't even know those numbers, and this goes back to an interview or actually it wasn't an interview, it was a live that I was watching with RJ and dang, I forgot his name. He's an old rapper dude. He's from the South. Can't remember his name. If I remember it by the end, I'll say it. And RJ said that, you know, when he was making music and he was making videos, and his people came up, he's like, bro, you had like 3 million views. He was like, damn, really? That's cool. And he didn't know that that's what he was at already, because he's not like, yeah, that's important. The numbers are important, but like I'm working so many places elsewhere that I don't see those numbers.
Yeah.
I didn't even notice. I didn't notice until right now that you said that.
So focus on like the process more or less?
Yeah, I've been focusing so much on the process because the numbers are cool, but those numbers don't pay you. So, and those, like I said, those numbers are great, and I don't take 100% credit for that. I give credit to all the people that I've worked with, including Gio, Gutta Gone, Mickey Shiloh, Chosen, LAG, Lag, just all the people that I've collabed with, man, because their listeners, become my listeners, you know, and I couldn't have done it without them, and couldn't have done it without my team. So I don't take 100% credit, say, oh yeah, I'm at 7. Like, no, I can't do that, because I couldn't have done that without the help of everybody. And I know that like Gio also, he pushes his singles, the ones like Money Is Calling, he pushed that heavy. That's why like you see like all my other ones, I know the numbers are decent, but Money Is Calling is like in the thousands, and
it's like 6 times.
Yeah, that's because he promotes it for me heavily. So I wouldn't have gotten that without those people. So I want to give a shout out to all them for sure. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, yeah, obviously, it's a team sport, right? Or networking, or using those that like that are like-minded, that are looking for kind of the same result. It's like, let's all work together and win as a team, as a group. Especially if you have like background, your history with them, right? You know these guys from back in the day, like it's family. We want to do this together. What else do you think has contributed to kind of that uptrend that you're on right now? What else? Like, is there anything personally that you're doing differently?
Super personal. I believe this is after I recorded Karma in the studio.
Okay.
I was on the phone with Gone. Shout out to Gutta Gone. And he was already throwing his shit on. I'm sorry, can I cuss on here?
Yeah, it's good.
Throwing his stuff on like Spotify, Apple Music, and I seen he reached out to me and he was like, bro, like, you got it, just do it. Like, you either do it or you don't do it. He's like, whatever you need help with, like if you want to learn how to upload your stuff, if you want to, I got you. But you got to be committed, man, because I'm not gonna help or I'm not gonna like give you pointers if you can't help. If you're not gonna help yourself,
into action, right?
And it was like, I go down to LA to record. I've always promoted my stuff. There's been times when I fell off and I just kind of we go through things in life where it's like I don't have time to focus on music right now. And I was on a call with him, and I remember being upstairs in my room, and I shut the door, and we just had this conversation about like not quitting, about like just going all in with it, because you're either gonna die happy or die sad, and I don't want to die with any regret, saying like, oh, I could have done this.
Coulda, shoulda.
Yeah. And that's cliche, but it's true,
It's true.
So that's from that point on is when everything changed for me. And like I said, I don't take credit for everything that I do. There's a lot of steps, and there's a lot of steps in the process. 100%. And that was the first step, is being on the phone and just saying, you know what, I'm gonna be committed, and this is it, and there's no looking back. So since then, I've worked with producers, I've worked with all types of stuff, and videos and this and that, and I'm excited for what the future holds, man. I just, because I love music and I love being around it, and it's something that I'm gonna do forever. Whether I make millions off of it or whether I make nothing off of it, I love it. Music is important to me. So
Well, you just had that big shoot in LA with Gutta, right?
Yep.
Right. So if you guys don't follow him, check out @GuttaGone. But yeah, tell me a little bit about that project. I was trying to make it down, I couldn't, but tell me a little bit about it, man.
Oh man, that's a long one, man. That's a long one. I recorded Pull Up. Actually, I had it written, and someone told me like, hey, I got a video of, you know, over maybe like a year ago or like a little less than a year ago, where you were just playing the song and you were like you know, just playing with the beat, and I'm trying to get that video, but I recorded that about, I want to say 6 months ago, and then I was in the studio about a month or two, and I had, you know, Gone in there, I had Stephen Bryson in there, Paris, Miko Mars, you know, we were just in there. And I was really feeling that track, and I say, hey, bro, you want to get on this? And he was like, yeah, let me hear it. He heard it. He was like, say less. You know, that's what he said, say less. Yeah. And he just, he bodied the beat, and he really, you know, we work so well together. Like, our music is so good together. You know, like, we have Cappin', we have 100 songs, we have Pull Up, and, you know, we just shot a music video probably about 2-3 weeks ago, and you guys are going to see the finished product next Friday. That's when the video is going to be coming out. Okay. So Pull Up next Friday coming out. But you guys don't know the half of everything that goes into these videos, and you know, trying to get the, you know, the mix and the masters, and just everything that goes on.
The props, the sets, the actors,
there's so much that goes into it, you know. And
right.
I see a lot of posts about like, oh, artists have to do this and that and this and that, and then, you know, all we get is like a like or a view, and it's so true. You know, it's so true. Like, even with the podcast, you know, you drove from San Jose, to over here. We're setting up a podcast, and we're getting it in, and people don't see the work that gets put behind the final product, right. And I think that's important sometimes. So, yeah. So Pull Up was definitely a fun time. We've had on the set, we had cameras, technical difficulties. Shout out to Jesse Estrada. Shout out to Miko Mars. Shout out to everybody who was part of that video. But yeah, we had technical difficulties, and we just still ducked it out. There was a couple fights that went down, where the owner of the house was gonna shut the whole thing down, but we weren't finished. Shooting. You know, it's just a whole lot of stuff that happens, but you don't see that, right?
Right. Yeah.
You just see the video. So yeah, Pull Up, dropping next Friday. I'm excited about it.
I'm excited to see it.
I hope you guys are excited about it. Yeah.
Hell yeah. Yeah. So you touched a little bit on your you know, like going into everything that goes into putting things out, right? And you were talking to me, you know, I was working with your buddy the other day. With the website and the bio and stuff, and when I was like, hey, like, give me some fun facts about you that you'd want in your bio, and you were talking about how you still keep it old school, you do your music on pen and paper,
right? And
I was thinking, like as I was creating this, you know, for the past couple of days, and, you know, my podcast, Working the Pack, like you said, people don't know the creative process and everything that goes into putting out content. Like, what is that, I guess, in terms of the writing of your music, like, what is that creative process like?
For me, the process is I probably listen to over like 20 beats a day.
Okay.
Instrumentals that either someone sends me, or YouTube, or whatever. So I always listen to something, and then I come up with a chorus, and then I just write. And when I write, I'm in like this mode that I can't explain. It's like you know, you just black out, and you just go in. A lot of people still, you know, I not to say that I only do it on pen and paper. I do write on my phone as well sometimes, but I write way faster, you know, when I'm, and somehow, some way, I think better when I'm writing, when I'm just, you know, writing it down. But the creative process is real simple. It's like I hear a beat that I like, and I write to it, and I mean, I have over, right now, just alone, I have over about 50 songs that maybe only 10 of them might get released.
Right.
or maybe 10 will only be heard ever, because the other 40 is just whether I was just playing around or whatever. Sometimes I just like to get creative and do stuff that I'm not used to doing. So I'm also going to be having a like an R&B soulful feel EP dropping soon, where it's all R&B music, and I'm just going out of my comfort zone with that, and it's just about the creative process. I said, look, I can do this and I can do that, but why not try something different? So for all the ladies out there and all the fellas that like listening to that too, we got an R&B EP on the way.
Okay.
So I'm excited about that. Yeah, and I haven't told anybody about that yet, so I've been keeping that on the DL. I'm working on the EP with Geo and Flip Magic. So shout out to those two. Yep.
Okay. I appreciate the insight though.
Yep.
Kind of a random off-top question. So if you weren't doing music right now, like what do you think you would be doing instead?
Well, I work.
Right.
So if
you think that, but I mean, like in terms of that the free time and all of that you have, do you think that'd be directed towards something different in terms of like something in the arts or?
Maybe. I do so many different things that I try to like touch on all different things, like boxing, or I just bought a fixie because I'm in Oakland. I'm in like East Oakland every day, so I see people hitting wheelies, and I'm like, hey, I want to try that.
Yeah.
But as far as like being creative, if it wasn't for music, I can't draw, so that's out the question.
Yeah.
I can't fix cars, so that's out the question. I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah.
I don't know. Like I literally tell people that music saved my life, because I'm able to. Like some people get frustrated and they hold that frustration in and they try to talk to people about it, or they try to brush it under the mat, or whatever the case is. For me, it's totally different. I take it and I just put it on the pen and the paper, and then that's how you get songs like Money Is Calling or Send the Love. That's how you get those songs, because when I wrote both of those songs, I was going through something, and so without I don't know, as far as music, if I wasn't doing music, I don't know what other special talent I would have, or maybe I'd just be a loser. I don't know, but a loser making money. I don't know, but yeah,
it's tough.
It's tough.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Tricky question to think about. I was curious to see what you'd say. Yeah. But you've also, in terms of like utilizing like the platforms of music and doing all those things. I mean, you've been teaching me a lot about like I've been trying to create my personal brand, doing this podcast. How to create content, like topics and things. But how do you think the internet and this social media and all that has influenced like the music business?
It's so hard. It's like it's like a good and a bad thing. Anybody can make a video and it can go viral overnight.
Right.
And not to say that that's a bad thing, because it's not. But when you go back to artists like Tupac and Big E and Big L and just all types of artists that started from from nothing. Back then, even Nipsey Hussle, shout out, rest in peace Nipsey Hussle. It started with just grinding, with printing out CDs and doing things that way. And now it's so easy to I'm gonna put $200 into my Instagram ad and sponsor it, and now my views are up.
Right.
And for the most part, if you think about it, like that's not getting anybody paid. Like, yeah, you can get 100,000 views and you might feel good about it, or your video might get 100,000 views and you might feel good about it, but it's not getting you paid. So at the end of the day, I think every artist wants to get paid. So, and the difference between now and back then is, yes, you can get paid when you do things the right way online. And I think that's maybe another podcast you should do later on, doing it right, because there's so many ways to make money online. It's so much easier. Like, people don't even have jobs because they can work off a line,
right.
and
yeah, it's the world today now. Yeah, it's crazy.
Easy. It's easy. And back then, they just were slanging CDs, or if you go to Venice Beach, I'm sure people still are giving out their CDs like, hey, listen to my stuff,
Yeah.
And that's the difference in back then and today is you had to do it on foot. You know, it's like if you're not out there grinding, if you're not out in the streets grinding, then
it's not gonna happen for you.
Yeah, it's not gonna happen for you. But now you could just be on your phone, and it's gonna happen for you. You know, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just shows you where we've came from and where we are today. And you know, a lot of people say, oh, you know, hip hop is dead or talent is dead. And it's really not. It's really not. It's just that, you know, some people focus their attention to one thing more than another, so you can't change that. And I think where we're going in the world today is great, and I think the way that, you know, like DistroKid or all the other places where you put your stuff on music platforms, like all those people are smart for thinking about that. You know, like you can't hate on that. So. But yeah, that's just to answer the question. Like I see the difference in where we were and where we are today, and you know, the internet. You know, they can go crazy over you know, whatever is put out, and you know, that's ultimately the goal, man. Because people are making thousands of dollars just because, you know, they had a, you know, 500,000 views on their stuff.
Yeah.
Now they can, you know, promote shout outs, they can promote promo videos, or you know, whatever the case is. So it's, you know, that's a good thing, man. It's, you know, let the money flow, and let you know, the world goes round and round. So however it's gonna go round and round, so be it. You know, if you can't change it, then it's all good.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think there's a difference between like using the internet to get an advantage because you have an audience and you want to put something to capture people's attention, even though that's not really you. I think something that I've learned from you and learned from people that I've gotten advice from, like my buddy David at Active Poet, is just being yourself and like being authentic. And people that really are drawn to you and your message will, you know, the audience will come over time. But I was gonna ask you about this, and I'm curious to hear your answer. So, doing stuff like this, video content, and like I remember when I did the first video podcast, like I did it in my kitchen and it was all like kind of fucked up.
I think I remember that.
It was fun, but I did yeah, like you could still see my laptop and like all these little errors. But it was fun. It definitely pushed me like way outside my comfort zone. And I guess somewhat of an equivalent of that for the music world would be performing. Right? Like, talk to me about performing and like having a live audience in terms of maybe like when you were first starting off, like what was that like compared to maybe how it is now?
So, I love performing.
Yeah.
Performing is like my go-to. I'd rather perform than go in the studio and hammer some stuff out. Yeah. Because when I write my music, and you can go like, if you go on my Instagram, you'll see that, you scroll down, you'll see that I do a lot of stuff live. Right. I like to promote my music live. I'm just that I like to be authentic. That's just what I like to be. So whenever, you know, a performance comes up, I'm all for it. Whether it holds 2 people or 200 or 2,000 or 200,000. You know, being in front of people, there's no feeling like it. And I think where a lot of people go wrong in this business, and it's not that they're going wrong, it's just that they're not seeing the bigger picture, is, you know, there's promoters out there saying, hey, look, I'm gonna give you 20 tickets, and if you sell them all, then you can perform. And you're like, yeah, no problem, I got 20, you know, now boom, now you're performing at some little bar, and you brought 20 friends in, and you know, at the end of the night, you're spending money and whatever. Now you're leaving with nothing except an experience. And to all the artists out there, fuck that shit. You know? Excuse my language.
Nice.
Fuck that shit. You want to get paid off of your shows, man. Make sure that if there's some tickets being sold, that you're getting a percentage off of it. If there's a bar, if it's like a small, if it's like not a hole in the wall, but if it's like a decent bar size and you have a decent name for yourself, go after the bar tab. Go after a percentage of that. There's so much money that they're making off of you that there's no reason why you shouldn't. If you're bringing in 20 people who are spending at least $100 each, that's $2,000. There's no reason why that the venue can slide you a few $100s. Right. You know, and artists don't see that, so they just get comfortable with doing shows and shit, and you kind of hear like the anger in me because that happened to me for so long, and so I put my foot down and said, like, no, I'm bringing out 60 to 100 people per show. Like, you're not gonna make money off of me.
Right.
So always make sure that you're making money off of your live shows. And I know that's not what the question was, but it just goes to, you know, my experience with live music and with a lot of shows that I've done. And I you know, I've been played before plenty of times.
Yeah.
And you just got to learn from that.
Right.
But as far as like doing shows, I love it. There's nothing like it, and I could do a live show every night if my voice was good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love doing live shows. Yeah.
Well, I got one for you. So, it seems like you've done them quite a bit. Is there a fun, cool story that you'd be able to share with us about maybe one of your live performances?
Yes. I have a lot of live performances that were really dope.
And it doesn't have to necessarily be a good story. It could be a bad story.
Yeah,
whatever,
there's so many.
Whatever you feel like got some good content in there.
I'm not gonna be negative, so I'm gonna keep it positive. And the one that really stuck out to me, and it's probably been my biggest show, is when I Am Sue, who is from up here from the Bay.
From Miami,
He was on tour, and we were part of that at the observatory in Santa Ana. And I my cousins were there. That's when I first dropped Lost and Found, which is my first CD that most of you probably have never heard because it's not on SoundCloud, it's not on any streaming platform. It's on datpiff.com.
Okay.
If you look up Lost and Found, you'll hear those songs.
Okay.
So I was there, and I think I sold like 120 to 130 tickets. And I did make some money off that show. But that was the show that I had all my, like, just close people there, you know? And I think, you know, A-Ro was there. Shout out to A-Ro, the Lost Angel. My cousin AJR, which we have another song dropping in 2 weeks called Been Through So Much. Me and him, we performed Real Ones. Me and Gutta Gone. I don't know if we performed 100 songs, but by that time, I think we had 100 songs recorded. And we just went up there, man, and DJ Flash was there. That's Gutta Gone's DJ. He's like, you know what, Gutta Gone got love for you. You know, I'm gonna slide in there and I'm gonna do my shit at your show. So shout out to DJ Flash. So it was all love, man. It was like all positive vibes, and there was so many people that I knew there, and I gained so many more new fans that still rock with me today. And it's just like, that's one of the shows that stuck out to me the most, for sure.
That's
yeah,
dope.
Yeah,
That's
100%. Yeah.
So all your people was there. Cool, like, you know, you're opening for like a cool artist that you know.
Yeah.
That's sick.
And I Am Sue did his shit too. That shit was cool.
Yeah. I've seen him perform. I've seen like the whole HBK and all those guys.
They're pretty dope.
They're dope. They're definitely cool. They got a cool sound, super bass sound, you know.
I fuck with that sound too, because they're not like super hood, but they can, like, you know, they can keep the vibe going.
Right.
I love that.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, we've talked a lot about your successes and, you know, all the upswings and how things have kind of, you know, over time have gotten better and better and better, and especially right now. Mm-hmm. But talk to me a little bit about, you know, sometimes maybe you've experienced failure in your career, and like, how do you, like what's your mentality with that when things maybe aren't going well, or whatever it is that you're wanting with your music isn't going the right way? What's your mentality?
So that's happened to me twice.
Okay.
The first time when I was I don't remember how old I was, but I stopped making music for a while, and that's when I dropped Lost and Found. It's because I found myself and I tried to get back into the groove, and that's when I met Gio, who's recorded over 3 of my albums and mixed plenty of songs for me, and to this day we have a great relationship, and you know, I speak to him literally probably like 3, 4, 5 times a week. He's a great mentor. He's a great person to get knowledge from, even though he doesn't ever want to leave his house. So, Gio, if you're listening, man,
get out the house, man.
Get out the house, man. We need you. That was one time that I kind of just, you know, fell off, and then I came back. And then another time is when I moved up here to the Bay, is because I was just, you know, music is cool and it can pay you, but it's not gonna pay right now for me. It's not paying me to, you know, provide a house and financial freedom for me and my family. So I took on a big role and became a regional manager and had to move my family from Los Angeles to the Bay Area. And so during that time I wasn't doing music. I mean, I was dipping and dabbing with it, but I wasn't fully committed. And that's the problem with a lot of artists, is they just throw stuff out, and they might throw stuff out here and then there and then there, and people get bored of that. You gotta be fully committed, and that's when I had that conversation with Gon, and he was like, bro, like, I think you're talented as fuck. I think you're dope. I think you got what it takes. I just want you to be committed, man, because it's hurting me to see you not committed. And when somebody tells you that you know, it's hurting them to not feel you committed. It's like, okay, well, somebody out there got a lot of faith in me, you know. And that's when I say, you know what, I'm really gonna do this. I'm gonna do it this time. And a lot of people, whether how I grew up, or whether they knew me growing up, or whether they knew me after high school or mid-20s or whatever the case was, I was never that guy, you know, who was popping, or who had all the friends, or who had all the females, or, you know, who had all this. So when I drop music, I feel like sometimes, you know, I have a lot of people that I'm cool with, but the support is like, well, hold on, like, I thought we go back, you know.
Right.
So that's one thing that I always, you know, I was like, you know what, how do I break that circle? How do I not worry about them and get out of that circle? And it's simple, man. You just network with other people, because at the end of the day, like, the little post that you see is like, oh, your friends will buy a Drake album, but they won't support your $10 T-shirt. And it's true. It's real. It's so real. And it's like, you know, it's like, well, how do you change that?
They'll wait for the next Drake release, but they're not ready for EJ's next song to release.
Right. And it's like, yeah, not even EJ's. Like, I see it. Yeah, exactly. I see it happen with so many artists and stuff. You know, a lot of artists feel like, damn, I have all these people that support me, but when it comes to like merchandise or something that I'm trying to sell to, you know,
support myself,
it's just, you know, it's not there. And people don't know how much money artists put into their craft, you know. So when we try to put something out and it's not rocking, then whatever. But I felt support when I dropped my Love War, which a lot of people don't know about my Love War. I had T-shirts and stuff like that, and that really just killed the game. That's when I was on the super uprise. And after my Love War, I think it was Trust the Process, and then Leftovers. And then after Leftovers, I kind of just like stopped, you know. And I just stopped making music for a little while, and I just bounced back, man. I just say, you know what, like, why worry about what other people think, and how do I break this circle? And the way to break the circle is just ignore them.
Right.
Like, who cares about them?
Yeah.
There's the circle that you have might 500 to 1,000 people, yeah, but there's millions and millions of people in the world, so why worry about that 1,000 people, you know? And it took me a while to get that mentality, and that's just to answer your question. So yeah.
I feel that. I mean, yeah, it's like, you know, people got you and really support you, but, you know, at the end of the day, it's kind of like the numbers really show sometimes. And like, for me especially, like I did a podcast last week, and like the numbers weren't really what they were before, and really I was like, at first I started to get down on myself, and then I was like, you know what, like, it's not about that. I'm not doing this for that. I'm doing this because I like doing the podcast. It makes me feel good. And I told myself I'm going to do it for 52 weeks. And like your boy Gutta said, I commit. Yeah. The commitment's already there. I'm not 1 foot in, 1 foot out. I'm not dipping in the pool. I'm diving the fuck in the pool. Like, I'm all in. But, you know, you talked a lot about like this advice you got from your boy. You know, you talking about Gio and all people that have really put you on. Is there any like specific thing or advice that you've gotten that really just like you can't get it out of your head? Like, maybe some of the best advice you've ever gotten related to your music? Anything that speaks to you now?
Yeah.
Pina colada, man.
And it's the pina colada. Shout out to pina colada. The best advice that I ever got was was not from any artist. It was not from any producer. It was from my mom, and it was I think last Christmas. I think it was last Christmas, and I think I had a beer with her, and she's like so anti-alcohol. No, I didn't have a beer. I think I had some champagne with her.
Okay.
Or wine or something. I forget what it was.
Something light, right.
And she was just opening up to me, and she was telling me about, you know, like how my dad did music and how, you know, he got shot in the back and he was paralyzed for a certain amount of time. He's good now. But one thing that she said to me was like, she said, son, like, what do you want in life? Like, I know you have a great job. I know that you do music. But, like, what, like, if you were to just, if it was to just appear however you want it, like what would you want it to be? And I would say, you know what? I said, you know what? Like, I want to sell out shows. I would want people to sing my music back to me, like thousands of people to sing it back to me. I would want, you know, I just want people to feel good about my music, and I want my music to speak to people. And she said, well, you know, I remember this very, very clear. She said, if that's what you want, only you can make that happen. And it sounds like, you know, like something that you could just be like, oh yeah, I'll make it happen, right. Yeah. But it's so punctual that only you can make it happen. Like, you want to do a podcast, right? Only you can make that happen. If somebody wants to be a cook, only they can make that happen. You know, nobody can do it for you.
You want to get into the league, it's like you gonna get yourself
yeah,
fit,
yeah.
right?
Nobody's gonna wake up at 6 in the morning and run and
do abs. And,
exactly.
Yeah,
only you
pool,
can
right.
do that for you.
Yeah.
And when she said that, I was like, man, well, you're right. Actually, like only I can stop myself from doing anything that I want to do. And along the way, that stuck with me. And then what everybody else placed into my ear, it just kind of just grew into this thing that was like, okay, like this energy that you got to do it, man. Yeah. Like you either do it or you don't. And
there's no try.
There's
I never
no try.
understood that. It's like there's
there's no try.
There's just do or you fucking don't.
Yeah, you
like,
do or you
there's
don't.
no such thing as trying.
Yeah, that's it. It's
I
simple.
feel that.
It's simple, man. And I think even my relationship with you, we've always been like very like, hey, if I say I'm gonna do this, this is what's gonna happen.
Right.
You know, or if I'm in San Jose at a spot and you're like, hey, I'm gonna pull up on you, it happens. If I say, hey, I'm gonna be there, you know, it happens. You know, so only you can make yourself better. You know, when you rely on other people, it just doesn't happen. And that's one thing that really stuck with me. And I've had a lot of people tell me that after that. And I said, well, if one person told me that, you know, one person that I love, and another person tells me that, you know, then it's obviously true.
Real,
yeah, so.
I feel that. Well, I got to touch on this because, you know, looking around what's going on in the world today, it's a topic that's got to be discussed. And, you know, everything that's going on with you know, with George Floyd, with Breonna Taylor, with Ahmaud Arbery, with all these tragic things that happen with the movement. I wanted to ask you as a musician, you know, because, like, black culture and like dominates hip hop, and like how has, I guess, black culture influenced your life in terms of like your life in general and in music especially?
So I'll just break it down like this. In my apartment complex at Villamonte Apartments, I grew up with one white person.
Right.
Or two, or whatever.
Yeah.
Just me and my family. Right. You know, and I have all my, you know, Michi, Avery, Ricky, Avery, Dale. You know, everybody is, all my people, you know, they're brothers. You right. feel me? So, I always grew up with that. And yeah, I'm, you know, I am what I am. But I always carried that culture with me because that's what I grew up around. And you know, even when I played travel basketball, like one super dope memory I have is I played travel basketball, and I played for a little travel team called Slam and Jam, And I'll never forget, we practiced at Compton High School, and my mom used to cheer me on, and obviously, well, I was the only white kid on the team. So I'll never forget when we went shirts and skins, and I was skins, and everybody made fun of me, you know. They were like, yeah, everybody, you know, he's not hard to miss, you know. Right. And that was super dope, man. And like, there was so much love in that basketball team, and even growing up, I've always just been around, you know, oldies, you know, Otis Redding, Sam Cooke, James Brown. I come from like a soulful feeling, you know, background. Like even though I'm not blood related to all the people I grew up with, I'm part of their family. So, right. You know, it's the same thing, you know. So and everything that's going on in the world, I'm not really going to touch on that because that's a whole nother thing. And not only that, it's like there's so much negativity behind it. But the only thing we can do is you know, stand up for what's right and try to be positive. Yeah. You know, at the end of the day, it's sad to say, but they're gonna try and do whatever they can to control us. But as far as like the background, that's just the background I came from. Yeah. I grew up with one white person, and that's my mom. Yeah. You know, other than that, I don't know what to tell you. Right. I can't fake the funk. You can reach out to anybody you want, and that's ever known me. They're gonna tell you, yep, he right. only grew up around his white mom. That's it. Yeah. And that's kind of like where I got athletic. You know, that goes into like sports, that goes into music, and that's really the roots of everything. Yeah. So like the hip hop culture, the African American culture, the black culture is so strong, and whether people like it or not, it rules the world. It rules the world. You know, so
it's the reason why you dress the way you dress, the talk the way you talk, the reason why, you know what I mean. You want to do a lot of things, right? Yep. Drake gets the new Lambo, so now you want the fucking new Lambo. It's whatever. But yeah, you're 100% right. And I was talking a little bit about like how, you know, black culture dominates, like it dominates hip hop and in a lot of industries. Is there any artist, and I think I already know the answer to this because you kind of already gave it to me, but an artist in particular that you'd want to, you know, collaborate with and do a song with, do music with?
So yeah, you did actually reach out to me about this. One of my favorite artists who I've grown up listening to is John Legend. That's definitely one of the people that I really like. I've listened to all of his albums at least like 20, 30 times. Right? So that's just like somebody that I study his melodies, even though I can't sing like him. But you know, he has that you know, he has that voice that is so rare and is so unique. But if that never worked out, I think one of the artists that I would love to work with, well, it would have been two, but the other one is gone. Rest in peace, Mac Miller. He was definitely like somebody I always tried to like. I always liked his music. But another person that I would really like to work with is J. Cole or Kendrick Lamar. But you know, it's just, you know, because they come from, you know, I don't know where they come from, but you know, they have so much emotion in their music, and I feel like when I record my music, I have so much emotion in my music, and I feel like when Gone records, he has so much emotion in his music. And that's what makes a good collaboration. So yeah, if I ever get the chance to work with John Legend or J. Cole, and you keep this podcast and one day it happens, then, you know,
I told you so.
Yeah, I told you so. And not even I told you so. It's just like, you know what? I believed in the process. You know, it's all a process. You know, you're not gonna make it overnight. You're not gonna boom overnight.